I've spent a lot of my adult life now at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and I remember when one of the former presidents, James O.D., who came to us from Amnesty International, was president there, and I was working there as a scientist. And he asked us all to share one of our first transformative experiences. And the experience I shared was that when I was about 9 years old, my parents showed me the miniseries Roots, or it was on PBS. And at that point, it was all the progressive parents were saying, we've got to show our kids this film so that they know what happened. And I thought, well, great, I get to stay up late and watch TV. This never happens. And so the first night I watched it and I was appalled. And the second night I watched it and I finally said, why are you showing me this awful movie? Like, why would you want me to see such a disgusting film? And they were like, it's not a movie, it's not a film, it's a real thing that happened, and we really want you to know that this happened. It's important that you know. And it was so devastating to me at the time that I didn't even feel like I could go to school the next day. You know, they said, okay, time to go to bed and get ready for bed. And I thought, I can't wear my pajamas and go to bed and go to school. And I think at some level inside of me, the only way I could reconcile that knowledge that that had happened in the world was to say to myself in some 9-year-old language, the only thing I can do is to try to make my life about making sure something like this can never happen again. And even at that age, I knew it was like there's got to be a way that we can get people to see the world so that that's not possible for them to do. And so if you fast forward all the way to working at IONS, that's really what the whole organization is about, is how do we view the world, how do we view our place in the world and our relationship to other people, and how does that influence everything we think, everything we believe, and all the ways that we behave toward ourselves, toward one another, and the planet. And so when Edgar Mitchell was on his way back to Earth from his moonwalk, after having been the 6th person to walk on the moon on Apollo 14, he saw the Earth from space, and he was overcome by a completely different, but in a way similar, epiphany, where he thought, number one, he felt himself one with everything he saw, the Earth and the stars and the sun and the moon and the space capsule. He knew for sure at a very deep and certain level that the molecules of my body are the exact same molecules that make up the space capsule and the Earth and the sun and the stars, and we're not different. It's a non-dual experience. There's really no duality. There's no two. There's only one, but we're all playing out our particular roles in the one. And that was accompanied by this tremendous sense of bliss and ecstasy and a sense of belonging. And not only that, but an intelligence or a light shining through everything, like an order in the universe. And he could feel it, but then when he looked at our planet from space, he could see that because of our own limitations in the way we see the world as humans, we're engaging in all of these activities that are really insane when you stop to think about it. But when you see it from that perspective, it's particularly insane because it's such a small planet. So the idea that we can harm other people while benefiting ourselves, or degrade the environment, or war, and unequal resources, that all comes out of this. It's not a limitation of the resources on the Earth, it's a limitation in the way we see the Earth and our relationship to it and each other. And so he had these two experiences in combination, and so if you really recognize your interconnectedness with everybody else on the planet and with the planet itself, with all beings, then it becomes very difficult to engage in behaviors that benefit yourself and harm others or harm the planet. So that's what drew me to IONS, was how can we foster shifts in worldview that make it impossible for people to harm each other intentionally or harm the planet or ignore the plight of other people. The second major experience was that I read the book that your older audience will know is Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein when I was about 15 years old. And at the time I was living in Southern California in sort of a soccer, malls, high school, tract home sort of environment, you know? Although I will say my mom's interest in Jungian-oriented psychotherapy and my dad's interest in science and astronomy and adventure and art and literature, these were great, great things. But there was kind of a vacuum of consciousness in the area that I lived. Not a lot of people talking about it. And so when I read the book, which if you don't know about it, is about a human who's raised on Mars, science fiction, and he comes to Earth, and because he's learned the Martian language, he has the ability to use his mind to think his body in certain ways, to move things, teleportation, telekinesis, and telepathy, and all these different things. And so it's not really that he has special powers, like that he's not human, because he is. He just learned a language and a way of viewing the world that unlocked these capabilities. And so on Earth, he teaches all these people the language, and as soon as they start thinking in the language, they have the capacities too. So this just captivated me, and not only that, it opened the door to a completely natural love of everyone, and really shedding a lot of the boundaries and social conventions. And so that just captivated me at 15, and I literally was like, that is what I want to find out about forever.